The notification lit up my phone screen at 6:42 p.m. I was in the middle of a delicate negotiation with Senator Sterling's chief of staff, trying to bury a photo that looked incriminating but was actually just poor lighting. I glanced down, expecting an update on our press release. Instead, I saw a notification from a burner Instagram account I hadn't checked in 6 months. It was a close friend's story from my cousin titled "The Most Beautiful Bride." I tapped it. My heart didn't just stop, it detonated. The air left the room, replaced by a vacuum of cold, absolute shock. There, standing under a floral archway that looked suspiciously like the one I'd pinned to my secret vow renewal board on Pinterest 3 years ago, a board I thought was private, was my sister Chloe. She was smiling, that wide, triumphant smile she reserved for moments when she'd successfully taken something of mine, like my favorite doll when we were 7, or my acceptance letter to summer camp when we were 12. It was the smile of a cat that had not only got the cream, but had also broken the pitcher. But that wasn't what made blood rush to my ears like a freight train, drowning out the senator's aide's complaints about polling numbers. It was the dress. Vintage Chantilly lace, hand-stitched pearl detailing I had sketched myself on a napkin at a cafe in Paris during a solo trip I took before I even met Christian. The custom Vera wand that had mysteriously vanished from my climate-controlled storage unit 2 months ago, leaving nothing but an empty garment bag and a faint scent of my sister's cheap vanilla perfume. And standing next to her, holding her hand, looking at her with the same adoration he'd once faked for me while I paid off his student loans, was my husband, Christian. They thought they were having a secret ceremony at a vineyard 3 hours away. They thought they were safe in their bubble of deceit. They thought I was busy saving a senator's career in D.C., too distracted by power to notice the theft of my own life. They thought I was the clueless bankroll, the convenient roommate, the stepping stone. They had no idea. In exactly 2 hours, I wouldn't just crash their wedding, I would turn it into the most watched reality show on the internet. And by the time the cake was cut, 8.4 million people would know exactly who they were. My name is Rebecca Winters. I'm 34 years old, and for the last 10 years, I've been the person you call when your reputation is on fire. I'm a PR crisis manager in Washington, D.C., but my colleagues call me the eraser. When a CEO gets caught embezzling or a politician sends a tweet they shouldn't have, I'm the one who scrubs the internet, spins the narrative, and makes the world forget. I don't just cancel people, I erase them. Or, if the price is right, I make them immortal. I understand optics, I understand leverage, and I understand that the truth is just the first draft waiting to be rewritten. My husband, Christian Winters, 36, is, or was, a rising star architect, the kind who wears turtlenecks in July and talks about spatial integrity and organic flow while forgetting to take out the trash. We were the power couple of Georgetown, successful, attractive, and from the outside, impenetrable. A dual income, no kids, unless you count Barnaby, our French bulldog, kingdom of curated aesthetics and high-end gall. We live in a brownstone in Capitol Hill that I paid for, filled with art he chose but couldn't afford. And then there's Chloe, my 29-year-old sister, the golden child, the lifestyle guru with 50,000 followers who hang on her every word about manifesting abundance, which in her case usually meant manifesting money out of my bank account while refusing to get a real job. She's the kind of person who believes the universe owes her a living, and unfortunately, my mother raised me to be the universe. I'd been married to Christian for 7 years. 7 years of building a life that looked perfect on paper. We met at a charity gala for historical preservation. He was charming, attentive, and seemingly awestruck by my ambition. In a world of men who were intimidated by my career, Christian seemed to thrive on it. "You're a force of nature, Becca," he'd say, pouring me a glass of wine after a long day. "I just want to be the calm in your storm." For a long time, he was. He was the one who made sure I ate dinner during crisis weeks. He was the one who rubbed my shoulders after 18-hour days. He was the perfect partner, the grounding wire to my high-voltage career. He listened to my rants about incompetent clients. He remembered my coffee order. He made me feel like I could conquer the world and still come home to a soft landing. Or so I thought. Looking back now, I see the cracks I plastered over with expensive vacations and denial. The way he'd subtly undermine my successes in front of our friends. Great job on the campaign, honey. Shame you had to miss your niece's play for it, though. Family is everything, right? A subtle dig disguised as a compliment. The way he'd prioritize his vision over our budget, insisting on Italian marble when we agreed on granite, then sulking when I pointed out the cost. Then networking dinners that lasted until 2 a.m., where his phone would conveniently die and he'd come home smelling of expensive cologne that wasn't his. And Chloe. Chloe was always there, hovering around the edges of our marriage like a moth drawn to a flame. Christian, can you help me hang these shelves? You have such a good eye. Christian, what do you think of this outfit? Rebecca is too busy to look. Christian, Rebecca is working late again. Why don't we grab lunch? I hate eating alone. I dismissed it. Chloe was flighty, sure, but she was my sister. And Christian, he was just being a good brother-in-law, helping out the family fridge a bit. I told myself I was lucky to have a husband who cared about my family so much. I told myself I was paranoid for even thinking there was a flicker of something else in his eyes when he looked at her. I was so busy managing everyone else's crises, fixing other people's broken lives, I didn't see the catastrophic failure happening in my own living room. I was the captain of the Titanic, polishing the brass while the iceberg was already tearing through the hole. If you want to understand why I didn't see it coming, why I let Chloe take and take until there was nothing left, you have to understand my mother, Eleanor. She passed away last year, but her voice is still the loudest thing in my head, echoing in every decision I make. Growing up, there were distinct, immutable roles in our house. Chloe was the princess, I was the fixer. Chloe was described as sensitive, artistic, fragile. She needed protection. She was the one who got sick easily, who cried when it rained, who needed extra bedtime stories. I was described as strong, independent, resilient. I didn't need anything. I was the one who did my homework without being asked, who packed my own lunch, who put a Band-Aid on my own scraped knee because Mom was busy soothing Chloe's imaginary stomachache. If Chloe broke a vase, it was, "Rebecca, why did you leave it where she could knock it over? You know she's clumsy." If Chloe failed a test, it was, "Rebecca, why didn't you tutor her? You know she struggles with focus." I remember my 16th birthday. I had saved up for months to buy a car, a beat-up Honda Civic. My parents matched my savings. But a week before my birthday, Chloe, then 11, cried because she didn't have a special talent. My mother took half my car fund to pay for modeling classes for Chloe. "You can take the bus, Rebecca," Mom had said, not even looking at me. But Chloe needs this confidence boost. It's for her future. She's going to be a star. When I got into Yale on a full scholarship, my mother said, "That's wonderful, darling, but don't mention it around Chloe. She's feeling sensitive about getting rejected from community college." I had to hide my acceptance letter in my underwear drawer like it was contraband. This dynamic followed us into adulthood. I paid Chloe's rent when she needed to find herself in New York. I paid for her car insurance when she got a DUI, which Mom called a youthful mistake. I bailed her out of credit card debt 3 times because Mom cried and said the stress was giving her heart palpitations. Because that's what I was trained to do. Keep the peace, fix the mess, make sure Chloe is happy. My mother's dying wish, literally her last coherent words to me as she lay in the hospice bed I was paying for, were, "Promise me you'll take care of your sister. She needs you, Rebecca. You have everything. You're so fast. You're so lucky. Share it." I took that promise seriously. It felt like a blood oath. I let Chloe stay in our guest house when she needed space after a breakup. I let her use my connections to launch her lifestyle brand. I let her treat my home like a hotel and my husband like a concierge. I didn't realize that sharing everything would eventually include my husband. I started seeing a therapist 6 months ago, trying to unravel this guilt that felt heavier than gravity. Dr. Fitzgerald, a sharp woman with kind eyes who cost $400 an hour and was worth every penny, told me, "Rebecca, you're not her sister. You're her host, and she's a parasite. She doesn't love you, she loves what you provide, and parasites don't stop feeding until the host is dead." I defended Chloe. "She just has bad luck," I said, repeating the script my mother wrote. "She's trying." She was trying, all right, trying on my life to see how it fit. She was measuring the drapes, testing the mattress, and apparently trying on the husband appropriately. The signs were there. They were flashing neon red strobes in a dark room, but I was wearing rose-colored glasses made of exhaustion and blind loyalty. 3 months ago, Christian started working on a top-secret project in Napa Valley. "It's a vineyard estate," he said, his eyes lighting up in a way they hadn't for me in years. "A huge commission. I'll clear 6 figures. This is the break I've been waiting for, Becca. This is going to put my name on the map." He was gone every weekend. Site visits, client meetings, structural assessments. He'd send me vague texts. "Signal bad here, love you, asterisk," or photos of a vineyard that I now realize were probably taken from the venue's website. At the same time, Chloe suddenly became very busy with a mystery client for her interior design consulting, a business I had funded with a $20,000 loan that was never repaid. "I can't tell you who it is," she giggled over brunch, picking at a $28 avocado toast I was paying for. "But it's going to put me on the map. This client gets me. We have the same aesthetic. We just click." Then there was the dinner party from hell. 6 weeks ago, we hosted a dinner for my boss, the senior partner at the firm, and his wife. It was crucial for my promotion. Chloe stopped by unannounced, wearing a dress that was inappropriate for a nightclub, let alone a business dinner in D.C. She breezed in, smelling of vanilla and desperation, and sat down at the table as if a place had been set for her. "Oh, Rebecca is so uptight," Chloe laughed, pouring herself a 3rd glass of my vintage Bordeaux, spilling a drop on the white tablecloth. "She works too hard. Christian tells me she barely has time to breathe." My boss raised an eyebrow. "Hard work is why Rebecca is the best at what she does." Chloe rolled her eyes. "But at what cost? Christian says he feels like a widower half the time. Isn't that right, Chris?" I froze. I looked at Christian. I expected him to defend me, to say he was proud of my ambition. Instead, he chuckled, taking a sip of wine. "Well, she is married to her phone. I sometimes forget what color her eyes are." He threw me under the bus in my own dining room. And worse, he did it to align himself with Chloe. Later that night, when I confronted him, he gaslit me. "You're overreacting, Becca. We were just joking. You're so sensitive lately. Maybe Chloe is right. You need to loosen up. You're no fun anymore." The anniversary trip? We were supposed to go to St. Lucia for our 7th anniversary last month. I had booked everything, first-class flights, a private villa. 2 days before we were set to leave, Christian came home looking distraught. "It's the vineyard project," he said, rubbing his temples. "There's a structural issue with the main hall. If I don't go fix it, the whole contract is void. I can't go to St. Lucia." I was crushed. "But it's our anniversary." "I know, baby. I'm sorry. But this is for our future. Go with a friend. Take Chloe." I didn't go. I canceled the trip. I lost $4,000 in non-refundable deposits, and Christian spent that weekend at the vineyard. Now I know he wasn't fixing a structural issue. He was fixing my sister a drink in bed. Then there were the expenses. I managed the finances, obviously. I'm the one with the MBA and the steady income, but Christian had a supplementary card for household emergencies. I rarely checked the line items because I trusted him. That night, insomnia woke me at 3 a.m. I opened the banking app just to check a deposit. That's when I saw them. Not emergencies, betrayals in 12-point font. Suddenly, there were charges, not for groceries or utilities,
$4,500 for Catering Depot. It's for the firm's holiday party, Christian explained smoothly when I asked. I'm fronting it. They'll reimburse me next week. You know how slow accounting is. $2,000 for floral wholesalers. Research for the Vineyard Project, he said, not even looking up from his phone. I need to understand the local flora to integrate it into the landscape design. $800 at Lux Linens. Staging for the model unit, he claimed. And then the dress. My wedding dress, a custom Vera Wang. It wasn't just a dress, it was a piece of art. Chantilly lace imported from France, a bodice hand-embroidered with tiny pearls. It cost $12,000, and I had paid for every cent of it myself because my parents couldn't afford it after buying Chloe a new wardrobe for her influencer launch. I had it preserved and stored in a specialized facility, intending to maybe wear it for a renewal, maybe have a daughter one day who wouldn't be raised to resent her sister. 2 months ago, I went to the storage unit to put away some winter coats. The box was gone. I panicked. I called the facility. They said my sister had picked it up, authorized by my mother. I called my mother. This was just before she passed. "Oh, Rebecca, don't foster such drama," she'd rasped over the phone, sounding annoyed that I was bothering her. Chloe needed a dress for a photo shoot for her portfolio. I told her she could borrow it. You never use it, it's just sitting there gathering dust. Use it or lose it. Mom, that's my wedding dress.
It's personal. It's just fabric. Rebecca, why are you so selfish? Let your sister have a moment to shine. You always have to be the center of attention. Can't you let her have one thing? I called Chloe. She didn't answer. When she finally texted back 3 days later, she said, "Oh yeah, I borrowed it. I'm having it professionally cleaned because it smells like mothballs. Don't worry, it's safe. I'll bring it back soon." I let it go. My mother died a week later. The grief, the funeral planning, which I paid for and organized entirely because Chloe was too distraught to even pick out flowers, the estate settling, the dress slipped my mind. Christian was so supportive during the funeral. "I'll handle Chloe," he said, holding my hand at the graveside. "You grieve. You've done enough. Let me take care of the family for once." I thought he was being a rock. He was being a getaway driver. He was clearing the path so they could rob me blind while I was burying my mother. He was comforting the sister while sleeping with her. Which brings us back to 6:42 p.m. The Mondigal. The chief of staff droning on. I was sitting in a private booth nursing a lukewarm, sparkling water while the chief of staff vented about polling numbers. "We need to poll better with suburban women," he was saying. "They don't trust the senator's smile." My phone buzzed. I have a burner Instagram account. Generic user 55. I use it to monitor client crises without leaving a digital footprint. I need to see what people are saying about my clients without them knowing I'm watching. I also used it to follow Chloe because she had blocked my main account after a fight about money 3 weeks ago. She had asked for $5,000 for a spiritual retreat in Bali, and I had finally said no. The notification. Chloe_Dreamlife just posted to close friends. I didn't know I was on her close friends list on this account. She must have added everyone she knew to maximize the audience for her big reveal, forgetting I had this access, or simply not realizing generic user 55 was me. She always was slappy with details. I opened the story. It was a video. High production quality, drone shots panning over a vineyard, the sun setting over rolling hills, white chairs arranged in a perfect semicircle, rose petals covering the aisle. And then the caption, asterisk, finally my turn. Hashtag soulmates, hashtag upgrade, hashtag true love, hashtag destiny, asterisk. The camera spun around to show Chloe. She was wearing it, my dress. The bodice had been altered, tightened, but I recognized the lace pattern immediately. I recognized the pearl embroidery on the hem. I saw the wine stain I had carefully hidden with a fold during my own wedding, visible now as she twirled, oblivious to the history she was trampling on.
"We did it," she squealed into the camera, holding a glass of champagne. "We're eloping, Mr. and Mrs. Winters." She pulled Christian into the frame. He was wearing his wedding tuxedo, the one I bought him for our wedding, the one he said made him feel like James Bond. He kissed her. Not a peck. A deep, passionate kiss, his hand sliding down her back. "My dress." "To us," he said, looking at her with a look I used to think was reserved for me. To finally being free. Free. Free from the woman who paid his student loans. Free from the woman who bought him his car. Free from the woman who held him when he cried because he didn't make partner last year. Free from the stability I provided so he could play artist. The chief of staff was still talking. "Need to pivot the narrative on the infrastructure bill." "Excuse me," I said. My voice was eerily calm. Hughes, the spin doctor, had entered the building. The emotions, the shock, the betrayal, the rage were pushed into a box, locked tight. Now there was only the crisis. "I have a family emergency. I need to leave immediately." "Is everything okay?" he asked, startled by my sudden movement. "You look pale." "No," I said, standing up and smoothing my skirt. "But it's about to be spectacular." I got into my car, my Tesla Model X, which Christian loved to drive and constantly asked to borrow, and didn't start the engine immediately. I opened my laptop. I didn't drive to the vineyard yet. That's what an amateur would do. An amateur would rush in, screaming, crying, making a scene that makes them look crazy. They would throw a drink, slap a face, and get escorted out by security. I'm a professional. I needed intel. I needed leverage. I needed to destroy them so thoroughly they couldn't even glue the pieces back together. I needed documentation. I have a guy. Let's call him Leo. Leo is legally a digital forensic consultant for my firm. Illegally, he's the best hacker on the East Coast. We keep him on retainer for sensitive matters. "Leo," I said when he answered on the first ring. Code red. "Who's the target?" Leo asked, his voice shifting instantly to professional mode. "A senator? A CEO?" "Closer," I said. "My husband and my sister. I need you to access the cloud reserves for Christian's phone and Chloe's laptop. I need every text, every email, every receipt from the last 6 months, and I need it 5 minutes ago." "Ouch," Leo said. "Give me a sec." He uses the same password for everything, right? Architect God 1 foot. Let me try the variations. Got it. 2-factor intercepted. I'm in. While Leo worked, I pulled up the venue's website, Chateau Lumiere Napa. I looked at their live wedding packages. There it was. They offered a live stream service for guests who couldn't make it. "Share your special day with the world," the website boasted. It was password protected. "Leo," I said, keeping the line open. "Chateau Lumiere livestream. Get me in." "Done. Password is Forever Live 2026. Imaginative." I logged in. The countdown said ceremony begins in 45 minutes. Leo's ping came through. "Sent you a folder. It's bad. Becca, you sure you want to see this?" "I need to see it. I need the ammunition." I opened the folder. Texts. Hundreds of them, going back 6 months. Asterisk, Christian. "She's so controlling, I can't breathe. You're the only one who understands my art." Asterisk, Chloe. "You're my muse." Asterisk, Chloe. "I just want you. I don't care about her money." "Well, maybe we need a little to start over," winky face. "We deserve it." Asterisk, Christian. "I transferred the $50,000 from the joint savings. Told her it was a tax payment for the IRS. We're set for the wedding. She barely looked at the transfer receipt." My stomach turned. $50,000. That was the down payment for the vacation home we were planning. That was money I had worked weekends for. Asterisk, Chloe. "What about the dress? She'll notice." Asterisk, Christian. "Mom said you could have it. It's her legacy to you. Rebecca doesn't appreciate it. She treats everything like a transaction." Asterisk. He knew about my mother's enabling. He weaponized my dead mother against me. And then the kicker, the message that sealed their fate. Chloe. "I wish we could stream it to the world, show everyone that true love wins. I want to be famous for our love." Asterisk, Christian. "We will, baby. Once the divorce is final, we'll post everything. We'll be famous. We'll be the new power couple." Famous. They wanted to be famous. They wanted an audience. I looked at the live stream countdown. 38 minutes. I picked up my phone. I didn't call the police. I didn't call a lawyer. I opened TikTok. My firm has a shadow account with 4 million followers that we use to reshape narratives. It's usually reserved for political leaks or burying scandals for high-profile clients. Tonight, it was personal. I texted Leo one last command. I need you to hijack the projector feed at the venue, and I need you to boost the live stream signal. We're going global. Connect the venue stream to the shadow account. You going scorched earth? Leo asked. I'm going nuclear, I replied, and I want you to record everything. I drove 2 hours to the vineyard, more like 90 minutes in revenge mode. While I drove, I set up the infrastructure. I drafted a press release. Subject: Rising Architect Fraud Investigation, Influencer Scandal. I attached the screenshots of the bank transfers, the tax payment fraud, the texts mocking his clients. I didn't use a standard wire service. That takes too long. I opened my Do Not Disturb contact list. Editors at The Post, TMZ, Architectural Digest. I dragged them all into a BCC chain. Sent. Then I set up the live stream relay. I connected the venue's private stream to our massive account. Title: Live. My sister marrying my husband in my dress. Hashtag drama. Hashtag cheating. Hashtag wedding crash. I waited. I arrived at the venue at 8:50 p.m. The ceremony had just started. I instructed the valet to keep the car running. I won't be long, I told him, pressing a $100 bill into his hand. I checked the stream on my phone.
50,000 viewers. 100,000 viewers. The algorithm picked it up instantly. The title was perfect clickbait, but it was also the truth. The comments were already flowing in. Is this real? OMG, the title. I'm grabbing popcorn. I could hear the music from the parking lot. 1,000 Years. Our song. The song I walked down the aisle to. Of course, they didn't even have the creativity to pick their own song. They were just recycling my life scene by scene, thinking I wouldn't notice the edit. I walked toward the ceremony space. I didn't hide in the bushes. I didn't sneak. I walked straight down the center aisle path, but stopped just at the back in the shadows. The officiant was speaking. If anyone here has any reason why these two should not be wed, it's a cliche. It rarely happens in real life. Most people just cough awkwardly. But tonight, I was the director, and this scene needed a twist. Now, before I tell you exactly what I did next, and trust me, it gets so much better. If you're enjoying this story, take a second to subscribe. I share stories like this every single day. Women who didn't cry in the corner. Women who planned. Women who won. You don't want to miss what comes next. I signaled Leo via text. Now, the projector screen behind the altar, which was displaying a slideshow of their journey, photos of them taken clearly while I was at work, dates and locations tagged, flickered. Then it changed. It wasn't a photo, it was the bank statement. Transfer $50,000 to Chloe Winters. Memo: Our new life. Screw her. The guests, about 30 people, mostly Chloe's influencer friends and some of Christian's cool colleagues who clearly didn't know he was still married, gasped. A collective intake of breath. Christian froze. He looked at the screen. He looked confused. His perfect architect smile faltered. Chloe laughed nervously. Babe, what is that? Is this a joke? Is this a prank? Then the screen changed again. A screenshot of the text asterisk Christian. She's just a cash cow, Chloe. You're the prize. We'll take her for everything and leave her dry. The silence was deafening. Even the crickets seemed to stop chirping. Then I stepped out of the shadows. I held my phone up, camera facing me, live stream running. Viewer counts, 1.2 million. Hello, everyone, I said, my voice projected clearly without a microphone. I know how to command a room, even a vineyard. Christian whipped around. His face went white, literally white, like the linens. Rebecca, he choked out. He looked like he'd seen a ghost, or worse, a creditor. Hi, honey, I said, smiling. It was my media training smile. Cold, perfect, deadly. Hi, Chloe. Love the dress. It looks a little tight in the hips, though. I had it taken in for a size 4, and I know you're a solid 6, but good effort.
Chloe stood there, mouth open, clutching the bouquet like a weapon. I turned the phone to face them. "Say hi to TikTok, guys," I said cheerfully. I checked the screen, 1.5 million people watching you right now. You wanted to be famous, didn't you, Chloe? You wanted an audience. Well, you have one. "Turn that off," Christian roared, charging toward me. I held up a hand. "I wouldn't. This is live. Anything you do is evidence. Assault on camera? That's not very organic flow of you, Christian." He stopped. He knew PR. He knew he was trapped. He looked at the phone like it was a gun. "Becca, please." Chloe turned on the waterworks, but her eyes were darting around, calculating. "Don't do this here. Everyone is watching. Can't we talk about this like adults? You're being so dramatic, ruining your day." I laughed, a sharp, brittle sound. "You're marrying my husband in my dress with my money at a venue paid for by my stolen savings." I turned to the guests. "To the guests in attendance, I hope you enjoyed the champagne. It was purchased with the funds intended for my grandmother's nursing home care. Oh, wait, no, that was the flowers. The champagne was bought with the money Christian stole from his firm's escrow account." I saw one of Christian's partners, Dave, in the third row. His jaw dropped. He pulled out his phone immediately. "That's a lie," Christian screamed. "She's crazy. She's jealous." "Is it?" I pointed to the screen behind him. Leo was scrolling through the receipts now. Asterisk, project escrow withdrawal, $12,000. Date, Tuesday. Asterisk, vendor payment, Chateau Lumiere. "I suggest you check your accounts, Dave," I called out to the partner. Dave stood up, looking furious. "Christian, is this true?" Christian stammered. "It was a loan. I was going to pay it back. I just needed liquidity." "With what?" I asked. "My money? I froze the accounts 20 minutes ago, darling. You don't have a dime. You don't even have an Uber fare back to the city. I canceled your credit cards, too." Chloe looked at Christian, horror dawning on her face. You said you had the money. You said you were rich. You said the firm gave you a bonus." "I am," Christian yelled, his voice cracking. "I'm Christian Winters. I'm a visionary. You can't fire me. I'm the soul of this firm." "You're unemployed," Dave shouted from the audience. "I'm firing you. Don't bother coming in on Monday. And I'm calling the DA." The live stream comments were flying so fast they were a blur. "OMG, the tea. Best wedding ever. Shay a queen, arrest him. Sister is trash." I walked up the aisle toward them. I stopped right in front of Chloe. I reached out and touched the lace of the dress. Used fabric I had dreamed about since I was a little girl. "This," I whispered, "is vintage Chantilly lace. It costs $800 a yard. I earned every thread of it." I grabbed the delicate lace cap sleeve, the one I had designed to hide a scar on my shoulder, and I ripped it. The sound of tearing fabric was louder than a gunshot. The vintage lace, brittle with age and stress, gave way under my grip, leaving the shoulder strap hanging by a thread. Chloe screamed. "Consider it a gift," I said, dropping the torn lace. "You always liked my hand-me-downs. Now you can have the broken pieces, just like you can have this broken man." I turned to Christian. "You're served," I said. "My lawyer just emailed you the papers. Adultery, fraud, theft. And by the way, I'm keeping the dog." Then I turned to the camera. Thanks for watching, everyone. Remember to like and subscribe for the court updates. I ended the stream, I turned on my heel, and I walked away to the sound of Chloe sobbing and Christian shouting at his business partner. I didn't look back, not once. I didn't go home. I went to the Four Seasons. I booked the presidential suite. By the time I ordered room service, the video had 4 million views. By morning, it was 8.4 million. The internet did what the internet does. Christian was identified, memed, and destroyed. Hashtag Christian Winters is broke was trending #1 on Twitter. His firm issued a public statement distancing themselves from him and confirming a forensic audit. He was radioactive. No firm would touch him. He went from rising star to unemployable liability in less than 24 hours. Chloe. Oh, Chloe. She tried to post on my side of the story video. Crying, no makeup, a calculated move to look vulnerable, playing the victim. I fell in love. You can't help who you love. Rebecca was always cold to him. She doesn't understand passion. The internet responded with a ferocity that even shocked me. Top comments: you stole her dress though. Passion doesn't pay the rent, honey. You stole from your sister and married her husband. Sit down. Team Rebecca reaction videos popped up everywhere. Drama channels dissected her apology video, pointing out every contradiction. A body language expert analyzed her video and titled it "Deception and Narcissism, a Case Study." She lost every brand deal she had. The mystery client she was bragging about dropped her immediately via a public tweet. She had to move back in with our Aunt Linda in Ohio because she couldn't afford her apartment without my allowance. Aunt Linda, by the way, is a strict Methodist who bans cell phones at the dinner table. Good luck manifesting abundance there, Chloe. That was a year ago. A lot has changed since the day I turned a wedding into a teardown. I'm sitting in my new office. Winters Crisis Management is now the Winters Group. We've doubled in size. We occupy 2 floors of a skyscraper in downtown DC. That live stream regarding the wedding was the best portfolio piece I ever produced. Clients know if I can dismantle a narcissist in 4 minutes live, I can handle their PR nightmare. I want the Rebecca Winters treatment, they say when they call. I spent the last year healing, not from losing Christian, that was a relief like taking off a tight shoe, but from losing the idea of a family. I realized I had been mourning my mother and my sister long before they were actually gone. I was mourning the people I wanted them to be. I'm wearing a new dress, red Valentino. It cost more than the wedding dress, and I didn't need anyone's permission to buy it. I bought it with the settlement money I got from Christian's hidden crypto account that Leo found. Christian is currently serving 18 months for embezzlement. Turns out, stealing from your firm's escrow account is a felony. Who knew? He writes me letters sometimes from minimum security prison. Becca, please, I can change. It was a mistake. Chloe manipulated me. I burned them unread. I don't need his apologies. I have his dignity. Chloe is still in Ohio. She works at a Sephora part-time. I hear she's trying to become a beauty guru again. I have her blocked on everything, but sometimes Leo sends me a screenshot. Her latest post has 12 likes, and the top comment is usually, "Aren't you the girl who stole her sister's dress?" The internet never forgets. I walk out onto my balcony. The DC skyline glitters in the twilight. My phone buzzes. It's a text from a very handsome senator I met last week, the one who actually listens when I talk about policy. We met at a fundraiser where I was handling a minor crisis for the host. He walked up, handed me a glass of water, and said, "You look like you're playing 4D chess while everyone else is playing checkers." Asterisk. Dinner tonight? I promise not to steal your money or your clothes. I smile. I'd love to, I type back. I put my phone down. I pour a glass of champagne. Real champagne. My champagne. I take a sip. It tastes like victory. They tried to steal my life. They didn't realize who they were dealing with. They thought I was just the wife, just the sister, just the bank account. They thought I was the supporting character in their love story. They didn't know I was the director. And in my movie, the villain doesn't get the girl. The villain gets deleted. Now, before I head to this dinner, which I intend to enjoy very much, I have to ask you, if your sister wore your wedding dress to marry your husband, would you have stopped the wedding? Or would you have done exactly what I did? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. And if you enjoyed watching a cheater get exactly what he deserved, hit that like button and subscribe. I share stories like this every single day because sometimes the best revenge is simply letting the world see the truth. See you tomorrow.